Perfect. Thank you. Okay. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Good afternoon, everyone. A virtual meeting of the MAG Management Committee is now called to order. We'll have staff go ahead and take a roll call to establish quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. I'll go down a list of members by member agency. Please unmute and indicate if you're present. Matt Busby.
Present.
Thank you. Charles Montoya.
Present.
Thank you. Roger Klingler.
Present.
Thank you. Gary Neese. Carrie Dyrek. Josh Wright.
Present.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes.
Is failed to detect a speaker.
Oh,
Crystal,
Okay.
are you there?
but it was showing up. Well, again,
Brent
I can just
Billingsley?
Present.
Hi. Thank you. Grady Miller.
Here.
Thank you. Kathy Valenzuela. Patrick Banger.
Present.
Thank you. Kevin Phelps. Julie Cairns.
Here.
Thank you. Jeff Kulaga.
Present.
Thank you. Matthew Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Joy Rich. Is anyone on from City of Maricopa? Chris Brady.
Here.
Thank you. Jill Kymack.
Here.
Thank you. Jeff Tyne.
Here.
Thank you. Jeff Barton.
Here.
Thank you. Is anyone on from Pinal County? John Cross.
Here.
Thank you. Scott Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack.
Here.
Thank you. Jim Thompson. Mike Frazier.
Here.
Thank you. Reyes Madrano. Chief Les Brown. Jean Blackman. Jody Rooney.
Here.
Thank you. And our chair is present. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Please remember to unmute your device before speaking and to set it to mute when you are not speaking to create a positive experience for all attendees. Also a reminder, when making a motion or seconding a motion, please state your name and then make the motion so we can have the names of all the movements and seconds into the record clearly. Welcoming right now also to the meeting, Phoenix City Manager Jeff Barton. Welcome. Thank you for joining MAG Management.
Thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Very good. And it sounded like Chief Les Brown, the interim manager in Wickerburg, is not here unless you joined us, Chief. Okay. Thank you. At this time, we'll move to agenda item number 2, call to the audience. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction, that are not on the agenda, or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff, have we received any public comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. No public comments were received for the call to the audience item or any other item on the agenda.
Thank you. We'll close agenda item number 2. Now we'll move on to agenda item number 3, Executive Director's Report. Eric Anderson will provide that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My internet's a little unstable, so if I happen to freeze up or drop off, just continue the meeting and you won't miss a whole lot, I don't think. So we can go to the next slide. So our See Me Arizona enforcement campaign. See Me Arizona is our education and enforcement campaign to reduce bike and pedestrian crashes in the MAG region. Just to remind you, we had 150 pedestrian and bicycle deaths reported in 2020 alone. So this is something that not only in the MAG region, but statewide, we have to do a much better job on. The first, during the first phase of enforcement earlier this year, involved 4 cities, recorded more than 1,500 contacts and over 1,100 citations. So really good indication that, we need to do a better job in terms of the education efforts to make sure that people understand how to stay safe when they're walking and biking in the region. Phoenix and Chandler completed their efforts in late September. The Glendale enforcement effort is to begin in mid-October, and Tempe first week in November. The enhanced enforcement in each of these locations lasts about 2 weeks. Let's go to the next slide. Very pleased to say that MAG was the host for the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations annual conference in Scottsdale last week. There were over 300 registered participants in the event. It was nice that this was a national event. We had representatives from coast to coast, California, Alaska, Maine, Georgia, Massachusetts, New York, et cetera. I want to thank the MAG policy team, Nathan and his team, who did a great job helping plan and host the conference. Included mobile tours. Native Nations had a great tour of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. Thanks to Tempe, a good tour with Valley Metro and the Tempe streetcar. And then on Friday, Nathan led a 10-mile bike tour around Old Town Scottsdale. So luncheon was held on Tuesday. Mayor Ortega did a great job in welcoming the group to Arizona and Scottsdale in particular. There was a Metropolitan Planning Organization directors panel during the lunchtime hour on Tuesday. And I moderated a panel from ADOT and FHWA and FTA roundtable, very interesting discussion on what's happening in Washington and some of the cooperative efforts that they've done in this region. On Thursday, Grady Gamage was the keynote speaker, did a great job kind of exploding some of the myths about Arizona and our lack of sustainability. His point was it's actually easier to be sustainable in hotter, drier climates than it is in cold, wet climates. So once again, he did a great job as usual. Go to the next slide. See some of the photos from the event. Once again, I think we had great feedback from the participants. And once again, I want to thank our MAG planning team for all their efforts in pulling this off. Really reflects well in the region and on MAG. So thank you very much. That completes my report.
Thank you. And be sure to contact Eric after the meeting if you have any questions regarding his report. We will now move on to item 4, approval of the consent agenda. Items 4A through 4G are on the consent agenda. Let me ask first, was there any public comment received for any items on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, there were no comments received.
Very good, thank you. Does any member of the management committee have questions or would like a presentation on any of the items? Hearing none, could I have a motion to recommend approval of the consent agenda items 4A through 4G?
Mayor,
Mr. Chair, this is Grady. I move to approve.
this is Roger. I second.
We have a motion made to approve the consent agenda by Grady Miller, seconded by Roger Klingler. Is there a discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I would ask for the roll call vote on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the management committee. I'll call your name. Please indicate how you vote. Matt Busby.
Aye.
Thank you. Charles Montoya.
Aye.
Thank you. Roger Klingler.
Aye.
Thank you. Gary Neese. Josh Wright.
Aye.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes.
Aye.
Thank you. Brent Billingsley.
Aye.
Thank you. Grady Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Kathy Valenzuela. Patrick Banger.
Aye.
Thank you. Julie Cairns.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Kulaga.
Aye.
Thank you. Matthew Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Joy Rich. Chris Brady.
Aye.
Thank you. Jill Kymack. Jeff Tyne.
Aye. Sorry.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jill. Jeff Tyne.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Barton.
Aye.
Thank you. John Cross.
Aye.
Thank you. Scott Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack.
Aye.
Thank you. Mike Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you. Reyes Madrano. Jody Rooney.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed? That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we move on to agenda item 5, 2021 call for projects, Pinal County Regional Priority Projects. MAG Transportation Improvement Program Supervisor Patrick Stone will give the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. Good afternoon. If I could get the next slide, please. So I wanted to start my presentation providing a brief background on this item. Earlier this summer, the Rural Transportation Advisory Committee, or RTAC, reached out to MAG to ask for assistance in developing a list of projects for member agencies located in Pinal County. This request is part of a larger initiative totaling $50 million statewide that will be presented to the state legislature in calendar year 2022. As you can see on the timeline, after the request from RTAC, MAG staff met with agency staff to outline the process that would be followed. And since that time, the request has now moved through the calls for projects process and is moving through the committee processes as we speak, which just brings us to the action being requested through Management Committee today. If I could have the next slide, please. So the portion identified for the MAG member agencies in Pinal County was $8.7 million. MAG chose to use their already established call for projects process, as mentioned previously, and specifically the process for the Pinal County Arterial Bridge Program. Twofold reasons for using this. One was the arterial bridge program was already built for those member agencies in Pinal County. And then secondly, the process also had an approved scoring criteria that had previously been approved by MAG Regional Council. The call for projects was sent out on August 5th. Applications were due on September 17th, and we received 3 applications totaling just under $11 million. Late September, MAG Street Committee reviewed those applications and approved the project ranking that has been passed on to Management Committee. If I could get the next slide, please. So here's a listing of the 3 projects that were submitted from Apache Junction, Queen Creek, and Pinal County. You can see the projects are in ranked order. As $10.7 million was requested, there's just about $8.7 million available. So the funding amounts were based on the scoring and the ranking by the street committee, and that ranking is actually made up of both quantitative and qualitative data. Next slide, please. So this item is on the agenda for recommended approval of the prioritized listing of projects. Chair and members of the Management Committee, that concludes my presentation, and I stand ready for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Are there any questions or comments from the membership?
Mr. Chair, this is Roger. Mr. Stone, I think that this information is these projects are included for potential funding from the legislature. Is that where the source of revenue is?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Clarence, yeah, that is correct. This would be part of an initiative to be submitted by RTAC to the state legislature next budget year for funding from the state general fund.
Okay, so this isn't any funding out of Prop 400 money or Prop 400 extension. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. This item is on the agenda to recommend approval of the prioritized listing of the 2021 Pinal County Regional Priority Project applications. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, it's Roger. I move approval.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. This is John Cross. I second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve made by Mr. Klingler, a second by Mr. Cross. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's go ahead and Take the roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. I'll call your name. Please indicate how you vote. Matt Busby.
Aye.
Thank you. Charles Montoya.
Aye.
Thank you. Roger Klingler.
Aye.
Thank you. Josh Wright.
Aye.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes.
Aye.
Thank you. Brent Billingsley.
Aye.
Thank you. Grady Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Patrick Banger.
Aye.
Thank you. Julie Cairns.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Kulaga.
Aye.
Thank you. Matthew Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Chris Brady.
Aye.
Thank you. Jill Kymack.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Tyne.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Barton.
Aye.
Thank you. John Cross.
Aye.
Thank you. Scott Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack.
Aye.
Thank you. Mike Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you. Jody Rooney.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We now move to agenda item number 6, draft MAG policy principles. MAG staff Sapna Gupta, will provide a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Management Committee. Good afternoon. Next slide, please. The MAG policy principles present MAG's policy approaches for a wide range of its work, ranging from specific legislative items to the broader roles and responsibilities for the agency. We developed these policy principles a few years ago, and we update them yearly, along with presenting them for a vote by MAG policy committees at this time of the year. The brochure describes what the MAG agency is about, and it is posted under the About Us tab on the website. The policy principles have been very useful in a number of ways, as I will discuss later. Next slide, please. The policy principles are currently formatted as a trifold brochure that we can leave behind after meetings, for example, with state legislators or in congressional offices. It is a way to share the goals and the mission of the organization with the public and with stakeholders at the local, regional, state, or federal level of government, as well as the nonprofit and business sector. More importantly, it is an approved set of policy principles that the agency can draw upon. We revise this brochure annually, as I've indicated, and so if something comes up during the course of the year, we have these policy principles that we can turn back to and proceed in a nimble and appropriate manner. Next slide, please. The updated policy principles were presented in the consent agenda last month and are in your agenda packet. I would like to go over some of the changes in this update. We have updated the graphics to complement the language that we've included last year on the enabling legislation for the continuation to fund future transportation projects. As you can see here, you can see this map that you're familiar with that shows the potential investment. My colleague Audra has presented this map several times. So we are using this map to replace the old graphic. We've also added a graphic that shows the connection between infrastructure and employment in the region. And we've added a bullet under the About MAG section that indicates that MAG seeks to operate in an open and transparent manner and seeks public input into policy decisions. Next slide, please. Regarding further updates and edits to this document, we have combined the transportation policy and planning with the transportation technologies and services section into one transportation section to make the brochure more streamlined for stakeholders who are not familiar with MAG's different lines of work. We've also updated other sections to reflect the work that the agency is doing and will be doing this coming year, including an update of the human services section. Next slide, please. The section that used to be called administration in the old brochure is now renamed general, and we have added the additional statement to the first line. Before, it read that MAG is committed to prohibiting discrimination in the planning and delivery of our programs and initiatives. We have added, MAG is committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion. This new language reflects the work that we do in serving the public and with our member agencies and stakeholders. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair and members of the Management Committee, this concludes my presentation. This item is on the agenda for recommendation for action with the recommendation for approval of the updated MAG policy principles. I wanted to note that the MAG policy principles were approved by the Economic Development Committee on October 5 and will be part of the consent agenda for the Transportation Policy Committee on the 20th. Before then, they will be on the agenda of the Executive Committee on the 18th, and then later on, they'll be finally presented to the Regional Council on the 27th of October. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta. Are there any questions or comments from the membership? Very good. Hearing none, this item is on the agenda to recommend approval of the draft MAG policy principles. Is there a motion?
So moved. This is Julie in Goodyear.
Second, this is Brady.
Motion was made by Ms. Cairns, and I believe it was close, but I'm gonna give it to Mr. Tyne for the second.
Yes.
There you go. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take the roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. I'll call your name. Please indicate how you vote. Matt Busby.
Aye.
Thank you. Charles Montoya.
Aye.
Thank you. Roger Klingler.
Aye.
Thank you. Josh Wright.
Aye.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes.
Aye.
Thank you. Brent Billingsley.
Aye.
Thank you. Grady Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Patrick Banger.
Aye.
Thank you. Julie Cairns.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Kulaga.
Aye.
Thank you. Matthew Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Chris Brady.
Aye.
Thank you. Jill Klimak.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Tyne.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Barton.
Aye.
Thank you. John Cross.
Aye.
Thank you. Scott Smith. Jennifer Jack.
Aye.
Thank you. Mike Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you. Reyes Madrano. Jody Rooney.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And thank you to MAG staff for preparing the draft policy principles. Much appreciated. Next, we go on to agenda item 7, Regional Homeless Action Plan. MAG Deputy Executive Director Amy St. Peter will begin this presentation and will be joined by Human Services staff member TJ Reed.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you very much for this opportunity to present an update on these regional homelessness efforts. In particular, we've deeply appreciated your partnership over this past year, and very much so in being able to work with you and your staff over the summer with the Regional Homelessness Coordination Team. Thanks to the team's input and to your continued partnership, we're excited to be able to offer this draft action plan. This is being offered this month just for information and for discussion. We are making refinements to the plan based on your feedback, heard through the committee meetings such as this, as well as through the one-on-one meetings that we've been having with each of your communities. Thank you very much for being able to meet with us. That candid, constructive feedback has been extremely helpful. To date, we've met with 22 MAG member agencies and hope to meet with everyone, hopefully before the end of the month, if not soon thereafter in November. The purpose of our time then today is really first and foremost to be able to listen to you, to your feedback, and to be able to offer some updates in terms of what we've heard from you regarding this draft action plan. Next slide, please. We've been engaging in this work for a year this month in October. To date, we've touched more than 1,500 people through extensive outreach. We've been able to work with a number of different sectors, such as the nonprofit community, faith community, business community, as well as with all of our local and tribal governments as our MAG member agencies. These partnerships, both within the MAG structure as well as throughout the entire region, have been extremely helpful. We are driving toward a vote next month, beginning at Management Committee on November 9th, going to the Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care Board at the end of November, and then we're having a special regional council meeting on December 8th. This is the first time that we've held a special regional council meeting and the first time that we've had a meeting focused exclusively on homelessness. And so it really underscores the importance of this work and our appreciation for your partnership. Next slide, please. So we are here to listen. We'll be going over briefly what we've heard from you so far, and we are eager for any additional input that you might have so that we might further revise the action plan. We are sending out the revised action plan this Friday, and that will include any comments that you're able to share with us today. And that is in preparation for the Regional Homelessness Coordination Team meeting on Monday, where we will review in depth this feedback that's been received and start to prepare the action plan for a vote beginning next month. Please do keep in mind too that this action plan, while we're preparing it for a vote, it really represents a starting point. It represents a starting point in the sense that this is the first time that local and tribal governments have come together with such leadership in a regional response. And so what we'll be able to do in the future may be even more impactful than what we're doing today, but we need a starting place, and we see this action plan as being that starting point. Next slide, please. So we've been asking ourselves this question since the regional strategies were adopted back in May, keeping in mind that there are two different time elements within this question. First is in response to those immediate needs, that sense of urgency that we're all feeling to address homelessness in a more regional fashion in response to the increasing numbers of people experiencing homelessness. There's also a long-term play, very much so in this work, in the sense that we need a sustainable foundation for these efforts, and we need to be acting together regionally. Next slide, please. So these are the three action steps that were developed by the Regional Homeless Coordination Team over the summer. The first one represents a regional governance model that details how and in what way will the local and tribal governments be supported in coming together regionally. We're also keenly focused on those safe housing options in our efforts to reduce homelessness by 25% by 2027. And then the third area reflects the partnerships that will be needed to address homelessness in a very holistic and comprehensive manner, working with other sectors such as healthcare and the criminal justice system. Next slide, please. I'll offer the feedback that we've heard to date so far on this first set of action steps, excuse me, in terms of offering that regional governance model. Probably the first bullet point has garnered the most conversation in terms of bringing together regional resources. This is what we've heard so far, and we're eager for any additional feedback that you might have today. We're hearing that all communities are committed to being able to contribute to these regional resources and these regional efforts in some way. That can be through financial and or in-kind resources, but that really represents new activities that are undertaken directly to support implementation of this action plan. It would be up to each community to determine the nature of their contribution as well as the level of their contribution, but that every community would be supporting these efforts in some fashion. These efforts will continue to be data-driven, and we're looking and already meeting with local foundations to support this work moving forward. I just want to highlight last, before I turn this over to TJ Reed, my colleague, the importance of the regional public education campaign. We very much want to be able to support you as local leaders in your efforts to respond to homelessness on a regional and local basis. And we understand that you need the support of your constituents. And so being able to offer a regional public education campaign will help to raise support for these efforts and give you support in your role in this work as well. We can please forward to the next slide. I'm excited to introduce my colleague, TJ Reed, to walk us through the safe housing options. TJ, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Amy. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the second action step is focused on safe housing. And really the feedback that we've been getting through our sessions with you all is that people are interested in having a balanced housing portfolio. So that incorporates temporary housing, but also permanent housing and affordable housing or workforce housing. And people are really interested in supporting people in their own communities, that they're in need of or have resources to expend on people who are there. And on top of that, these are regional targets that we have put together. And those who are choosing to move in this direction, we're going to support them with technical assistance because we know in all of these things, sometimes it can be difficult to start and know exactly what to do. And so as staff, we're trying to support each community who is interested in taking any of these actions with connecting to peers and also just supporting with the data and the types of knowledge that would be necessary. And many communities actually have temporary or permanent housing projects underway now, which is very exciting. And I think in particular, what we'll point out here is bullet points 3 and 4, the increasing and maintaining rental units and assessing and enhancing coordinated entry are fully funded and underway as well. And parts of the last one where reducing evictions, there are parts of this that are already funded. So some of these are new activities that we are wanting to get done, and others have just recently started, but are all exciting. Next slide, please. And so on this one, the key takeaways that we got, there was a lot of interest in the concept of community courts, in having that cover regionally, but also we had a lot of interest from smaller communities that may want to partner with other smaller communities to have one community court that fits those needs. There was a lot of interest also in having outreach teams in each community to make sure that the people of the highest need are getting connected to services such as mental health and substance use. And we're seeing a lot of interdepartmental teams taking shape already, which is great because we know homelessness does not just pick and choose. Like they go to a library, they're interacting with the libraries, police, Parks and Rec, right? Next slide, please. And so that really covers the extent of all of the action steps. And so our next steps incorporate a few different things. So the next slide, please. In October, which is now, we're offering this draft for additional review and comment, and we hope to hear from you today or afterwards. In November, these plans will be offered for action by management committee and the continuum of care. And then in December, will be offered for action by the regional council. And then January is really where much more of the implementation begins. Next slide, please. And so now here is my contact information as well as Amy's. So we're looking for questions and feedback here within this meeting, but if you think about something or want to contact us after, this is our contact information, and please feel free to reach out to us. And back to you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Thank you both for the presentation. I'll ask the membership, are there any questions or feedback you'd like to give at this time? Okay. Hearing none, I'll just say again, what great work, and to see the progress that we've been making at this regional level and with Mag's work in this space. It's the progress and the evolution of this during my time and tenure with this management committee has been dramatic, and I think we're really pointing in the right direction. I think this body of work and what you presented today is really a great example of that, and we are excited to continue to work with you and to continue to explore the kind of permanent solutions that you're working on as a region. It's necessary, it's timely, and it's just high quality analysis and work. And I appreciate you taking the time to speak to all of the member communities as well, because we may all have different experiences, but we all have an understanding that working together is the best way to find real lasting solutions. So thank you to you both.
Andrew, this is Chris.
Yes. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. I do have a few questions.
Go ahead.
I guess I need some clarification on what is being suggested in the report. It talks about it identifies the 770 units of temporary housing that are needed strategically. I'm not sure what that means spread throughout the region. Is that suggesting that apportions out somehow proportionally across the region, and so that each of us should be looking at that from a community as what portion of that 770 we're responsible for? I guess I need a better understanding of kind of what the roadmap here is suggesting. Is it suggesting that every community should be participating in some form or fashion in providing this housing? And, or how are we, what's the strategy here for addressing homelessness? Is it intended to be proportionally spread through every community, or is the idea to create community nodes where different types of services are provided, and that as a region, then we have the opportunity to benefit from that depending on what kind of service is needed?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brady, and members of the MAG Management Committee, thank you very much for that question. There has been quite a bit of dialogue about how those units would be addressed. We can tell you where we're at right now in the process and look forward to any feedback or guidance that you or others on this committee might have. We have set the targets of 770 temporary housing units, 1,225 permanent housing units. And those are, as TJ stated, regional targets, and those are based on current local data, analyzing the flow of people coming through the system. When we look at the number of units underway, there are a number that are going to be in place very soon that are specifically designed for and dedicated to people experiencing homelessness. So we're in the process right now of creating an inventory of all of those units. We'll be subtracting that from those targets, and from that we'll be able to identify the gap. At that point, then we'll be circling back with all of you, with all the local and tribal governments, to talk further about how will we address those gap units. What we're seeing so far is that, excuse me, is that some communities are stepping forward and volunteering to site new units. Other communities are partnering together. And so, for example, there are at least 2 different examples of maybe 3 different communities that are neighboring each other that are talking together about how they're going to be able to offer more units in this space. And so in the plan, when it references the strategic dispersion of these units, that's looking at a few different elements. One of those is a level of community support. It's also looking at how do we ensure that there's opportunities for people to access housing, shelter, and services, no matter where they are in the region. And so in particular, and this is one of the more recent revisions to the plan that we'll be sharing on Friday, looking at how can we support communities in siting these new units, particularly in areas that currently have low concentrations of temporary housing and permanent housing. And so to make sure that we can introduce new options in communities where those are needed. We are hearing support that people want to be able to offer assistance in each community. At this point, we've not heard a lot around MAG or anyone else assigning each community a figure. More so that it's we're looking at being able to support communities in that conversation, helping to further that conversation, and being able to provide the technical assistance to communities who would like to step into this space.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Well, I just want to make sure, I appreciated the idea that this is at least acknowledging that these services need to be spread throughout the region versus having a central location where it seems with the passwords, it's been the practice to kind of have these services more in the more urban areas. Mm-hmm. And that's created a concentration that's just not sustainable. And I guess if the philosophy is that strategically for the region, mm-hmm. they need to be better allocated throughout the region so access to those services are improved and without trying to create a concentration. If that's mm-hmm. the intent, then I applaud you for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brady, members of the committee. An example of how that's already being furthered is Maricopa County, for example, has just released a request for proposals with, I believe, $10 million to support new temporary housing units. And they're giving extra points in that evaluation process to communities that have low or no concentrations of temporary housing units right now. They'll actually score better in that proposal and are more likely to receive funding. So that's just one way that we can incentivize the development of these units in a more decentralized approach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any additional comments or questions? Okay. Hearing none, we will now close agenda item number 7. Thank you. And we'll move on to item 8. Legislative update will not be heard today, So we will move on to item 9, election of vice chair. In June of 2021, the management committee selected a chair and a vice chair to serve one-year terms. As a result of the retirement of City of Phoenix manager Ed Zerker, the vice chair position has become vacant. According to MAG committee operating policies and procedures approved by the MAG Regional Council, the management committee chair works with the members to nominate a manager for the vice chair position. And in that capacity, I nominate Jeff Tyne, manager for the City of Peoria, to serve as vice chair for the remainder of the term. Are there any questions from membership, or Mr. Tyne, would you like to speak?
Well, thank you. I'm honored for the nomination and would be honored to work with Andrew and my esteemed colleagues and certainly to learn from the MAG staff. Eric and his staff have so much information and thoughtful insight that I really could benefit from. So really would look forward to the opportunity, and thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from membership?
Did you need a second?
We don't have a motion yet, so
Okay.
I will now call for the motion. Thank you.
This is Julie in Goodyear. I'd like to move that we appoint Jeff Tyne as the vice chair of MAG Management Committee.
And this is Jeff Barton from Phoenix. I second that motion.
Very good. We have a motion from Ms. Cairns and a second from Mr. Barton. Is there any discussion of the motion to approve Jeff Tyne as vice chair of MAG Management? All right. Hearing no discussion, let's go ahead and call the roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. I'll call your name. Please indicate how you vote. Matt Busby.
Aye.
Thank you. Charles Montoya.
Aye.
Thank you. Roger Klingler.
Aye.
Thank you. Josh Wright.
Aye.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes.
Aye.
Thank you. Brent Billingsley.
Aye.
Thank you. Grady Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Patrick Banger.
Aye.
Thank you. Julie Cairns.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Kulaga.
Aye.
Thank you. Matthew Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Chris Brady.
Aye.
Thank you. Jill Kymack.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Tyne.
Aye, and thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Barton.
Aye.
Thank you. John Cross.
Aye.
Thank you. Scott Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack.
Aye.
Thank you. Mike Frazier.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
Thank you. I vote aye.
Is there anyone that I missed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And welcome, Jeff. A couple years ago, you were the chair of PopTac, and I was the vice chair. So I had the pleasure of working with you. And I can't think of a finer colleague to be as vice chair with me during this year as me as chair. So very excited to have you aboard, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Very good. Now we'll move on to agenda item number 10, requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests by membership for an item on a future agenda? Hearing none, we'll close item 10 and move to item 11. Comments from the committee. Are there any announcements from membership? Hearing no announcements, we will move to adjourn. Business is now concluded, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.